朋友们，一场国会听证会让美国在全球出尽洋相。我们来看两个最新的动态。首先呢，美国国防部长赫格塞斯昨天出席国会听证会，全程遭遇了民主党议员连环逼问，从最初的故作镇定到逐渐的不耐烦，最终直接情绪破防，面露凶相，龇牙咆哮，现场一度陷入混乱。主持人多次敲锤才勉强维持秩序，而他当众喊出的一句话更是直接引爆全美的舆论。他居然说美国最大的对手不在伊朗，不在俄罗斯，而是在国会内部。于是所有国会的议员目瞪口呆，集体傻眼。这场听证会的核心围绕着美国对伊朗的军事行动展开。民主党议员直击核心，接连抛出三大灵魂拷问：对伊朗军事行动战略是什么？要消耗多少资金？美国普通民众要承担多大代价？面对这些无法回避的现实问题，赫格塞斯全程答非所问，丝毫拿不出具体的方案，只会反复喊口号，甩锅指责。他被议员追问到无路可退时彻底失控，当场提高音量怒吼，言辞激烈，情绪暴躁，完全失去国防部长该有的沉稳和理性。现场争吵声不断，听证会几度陷入停摆。民主党籍的联邦众议员罗卡纳就问他，对伊朗的战争将为普通美国家庭增加多少生活成本？赫格塞斯情绪激动，反问他，你愿意付多少钱来阻止伊朗用核弹攻击美国？罗卡纳说每个普通的美国家庭在一年内将会面临多达5000美元，约合3.4万人民币的生活成本上升。在跟民主党代表史密斯的交锋中矛盾逐渐激化。针对霍尔木兹海峡封锁导致的经济危机，以及伊朗核武库尚未摧毁的现状，史密斯直言不讳追问五角大楼的下一步战略。赫格塞斯首先以不接受提问前提为由，试图推卸责任给前任政府，但在史密斯现在的计划是什么的冷静追问下他也只能搬出关于川普勇气和智慧这样的空泛论调。听证过程中赫格塞斯抛出一项引发争议的表态，他说美国当前最大对手是国会内部的批评声音，而非伊朗军方。这个说法就迅速成了焦点，在随后约40分钟内，多个议员反复就此追问，其合理性不断受到质疑。而另一个众议员乔考特尼更是严厉批评赫格塞斯跟川普表现出惊人的无能，正在各个层面引发灾难。此外纽约州的民主党众议员帕瑞安在听证会上再次公开呼吁要他辞职，指责其在驻科威特美军基地防护问题上严重失职，导致今年3月一起伊朗无人机袭击造成6个美军士兵死亡。随着听证会进入高压阶段，赫格塞斯彻底面露凶相，龇牙咆哮。面对关于战争时长的追问他通过翻旧账的方式防止质疑者是在抹黑军人，来提高音量大声叫嚣你到底在为谁喝彩，并且称批评者因为仇恨川普而看不见行动的成功。面对赫格塞斯在听证会上表现出的不耐烦情绪，以及对议员的公开嘲讽，委员会主席不得不罕见的多次敲锤介入，要求其注意言辞。现场的火药味之浓烈即便在党派斗争激烈的华盛顿也属少见。就在赫格塞斯被逼问的同时他的老板川普等不及了。媒体报道，对于作战简报曝光有3套方案，包括从闪电战到地面战。据路透社报道当地时间4月29号，美国中央司令部的司令库珀向川普提供了一份简报，介绍了对于伊朗采取全新军事行动的计划。这个军事行动的主要内容是对伊朗发动一场短暂而强烈的打击行动，摧毁包括伊朗基础设施在内的目标。不仅如此简报中还提到了2个其他方案。第一就是直接派遣地面部队接管霍尔木兹海峡，重启商业航运。另一个方案则是派遣特种部队进入伊朗展开特种作战，以确保伊朗高浓度铀的库存安全。 也就是说美国虽然表面上延长了休战期限，但背地里一直在准备对伊朗发动大规模军事打击。而报道中展现了3种方案，如果第一种闪电战还是对伊朗地面目标的狂轰滥炸，那第2种方式就更危险了，直接派遣地面部队。至于第3种方式，直接派特种部队参与行动，相信又是一次偷袭委内瑞拉、强入马杜罗的复刻，只不过目标换成了伊朗领导层。也就为何急着要对伊朗发动总攻呢？说到底呢，还是因为川普扛不住了。随着霍尔木兹海峡封闭，油价不断上涨，国内反战情绪激增。如果继续耗下去，川普的中期选举将很难取胜。美国对于战争解决问题向来有路径依赖，因此呢才会列出这些战争选项。但伊朗和此前美军遭遇到的伊拉克、阿富汗这些对手是不同的，他们有强大的反制能力，先前已经证明了用军事手段无法轻松拿下伊朗。如果川普还想重启战端进行大规模登陆，那么他这一次真的会输得很惨。
Nuclear weapons. So listen, how is this war going? Do you think we're winning?
Militarily on the battlefield, it's been an astounding military success.
No, but are we winning the war?
Absolutely.
Okay, so do you call Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz winning?
Well, I would say the blockade that we hold that doesn't allow anything to come in or out of Iranian ports, which
Okay,
is
so
always
we've blockaded their blockade.
Use.
So they blockaded us, and then we blockaded their blockade. That's like saying, tag, you're it. Or, you know, if President Madison had said, well, the British just burned down Washington, but don't worry, we're going to burn it down as well. How many Chinese missiles can they buy for $14 billion? Does that sound like winning?
They're not. We're ensuring, and they're not buying Chinese missiles. Everything we do. We're rebuilding a military that the American people can be proud of. One that instills nothing less than unrelenting fear in our adversaries and the utmost confidence in our allies. President Trump, unlike other presidents, has had the courage to ensure Iran never gets a nuclear weapon, and he's ironclad in that. We have the best negotiator in the world driving that deal. The biggest challenge, the biggest adversary we face at this point are the reckless, feckless, and defeatist words of congressional Democrats and some Republicans 2 months in, I remind you, 2 months in to a conflict. Lest I remind you, and my generation understands how long we were in Iraq, how long we were in Afghanistan, how long we were in Vietnam. 2 months in, on an existential fight for the safety of the American people, Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb. We are proud of this undertaking.
One other question, if I could get to it. So on Ukraine, a year plus ago, your advice, the president's advice, was Ukraine had no cards to play. They should go cut the best possible deal they could. Clearly that was wrong. What did you miss? What did you miss about the conflict between Russia and Ukraine that you didn't see that Ukraine was going to be capable of doing what they've done in the last 14 months?
What we didn't miss, and we're here in this committee, is that Joe Biden, with no accountability, gave hundreds of billions of dollars of our weapons to Ukraine, to an outcome that never would have happened if President Trump was president. So he pulled out our, you guys don't talk about that. Ultimately, President Trump believes there should be a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. And
but you didn't expect Ukraine to be where they're at right now. I'm asking you, just from a strategic standpoint, what
I think
did
the Ukrainians have shown great courage, and I appreciate that Europe is now paying for any weapons that we provide.
All right, I yield back. Thank you.
Appreciate how reckless it is. When I said reckless, feckless, and defeatist of congressional Democrats at the beginning, that came after watching you say the same thing on CNN this morning, a quagmire. My generation served in a quagmire in Iraq and Afghanistan, years and years of nebulous missions and utopian nation building that led us to nothing. What we have right now, the way you stain the troops when you tell them 2 months in, Congressman, you should know better. Shame on you. Calling this a quagmire 2 months in. The effort, what they've undertaken, what they've succeeded, the success on the battlefield that could create strategic opportunities, the courage of a president to confront a nuclear Iran, and you call it a quagmire, handing propaganda to our enemies, shame on you for that statement. And statements like that are reckless to our troops. Don't say I support the troops on one hand, and then a 2-month mission is a quagmire. That's a false equivalation. Who are you cheering for here? Who are you pulling for? Which the American people support. Iran's been at war with us for 47 years. You want to talk about a forever war? For 2 months, this president has stared them down. He's going to get a better deal than anyone ever has and ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon.
Well, Chairman Kaine, did the military have plans for the idea that Iran might blockade the Strait?
Sir, thanks for the question. I'll answer it this way. You know, in this job, I have to maintain trust with a variety of constituents.
Okay, I'm just asking if the military
yes,
had
sir.
plans.
As always, my point in this is, as I explain the role, my point in this is we always offer a full range of military options that are carefully considered with the associated risks with those options and the considerations therein.
So, Mr. Secretary, did you consider this risk?
Of course, this department has looked at all aspects of this risk. And
So then
because
why did you
this
send the
department
minesweepers, the only minesweepers we had in the Gulf, to Singapore weeks before the war started?
We have lots of capabilities that you may or may not be aware of at the classified level.
Okay, and so
who's hell-bent on getting a nuclear weapon and get them to a point where they're at the table giving it up in a way that
so they
never have it.
So they haven't broken yet. Okay, we haven't gotten there yet for all of the.
Well, their nuclear facilities have been obliterated. Underground, they're buried, and we're watching them 24/7. So we know where any nuclear material
reclaiming
might be.
my time for
we're
just
watching
a quick second here. We had to start this war, you just said, 60 days ago, because the nuclear weapon was an imminent threat. Now you're saying that it was completely obliterated?
They had not given up their nuclear ambitions, and they had a conventional shield of thousands of missiles.
So Operation Midnight Hammer accomplished
moment,
nothing of substance. It left us at exactly the same place we were before. So much so
their
that
facilities
we had to start
were
a
bombed
war.
and obliterated. Their ambitions continued, and they're building a conventional shield.
All right, let me try again.
It's the North Korea strategy. You know this very well. The North Korea strategy was use conventional missiles to prevent anybody from challenging them, so they could slow walk their way to a weapon. President Trump saw Iran at its weakest moment, took an action to ensure, in a way that only the United States of America could do with our Israeli partners,
and yet
to ensure their
conventional
shield was
right.
brought
one
to
other
heel,
question,
which we've done.
if I could get to it. So on
Asking
for years and decades.
But let's just say
sitting
it's
in this
$100 billion.
position, it's hard to imagine how
you know
it was
that?
allowed those things to happen. You were a part
You
of
know
that
the
war.
answer to that?
So was I. And I never.
I'm just asking if you know what your war cost the average American taxpayer.
What is the cost of Iran having a nuclear weapon that they wield?
I'm just asking if you know the cost of the average American
taxpayer. I'm asking you what the cost would be of that.
So for the American taxpayers out there, my constituents, some of the constituents you wanted to represent in Minnesota, I'm just wondering if they have an extra $600 lying around to pay for your war. Now, quickly, on March 13th in a press conference, you said, we will give them no quarter, no mercy. In order for no quarter or no survivors is a war crime under the Geneva Conventions. You understand that's murder. Do you stand by that statement?
The Department of War fights to win, and we ensure that our warfighters have the rules of engagement necessary to be as effective as humanly possible.
Okay, so just to be clear, you called Democratic members of Congress to be tried for sedition for reminding our troops to follow the law. But when you tell them to commit a war crime, you stand by yourself.
For insinuating that the laws that we're giving them are unlawful.
Revise it. How much did it cost American taxpayers in terms of the strike to the Iranian school where kids were killed? Do you have that number? In terms of the missiles we used?
As I've said, that unfortunate situation remains under investigation.
You don't know how much it costs the taxpayer?
But I wouldn't tie a cost to anything.
It's a reasonable question, no, sir? I mean, our taxpayer money was going there. Do you know how
I will
Trump
move on,
has
sir,
rebuilt
and I'm going to reclaim my time. General George, let's talk about a guy who's a patriot, somebody who every single person here in this dais and down there in that audience and out there in this world has huge admiration for. Why did he get fired?
Well, as with any moves we make with general officers, first of all, I thank them for their service. And ultimately,
my impression is you thanked him by a text or a phone call. You didn't even do it to his face.
Out of respect for these officers, we never talk about the nature of their removal, but every one of them, including myself, knows that they serve at the pleasure of the president.
Him?
Ultimately, out of respect to these officers, we don't reveal it. However, I will note, it's very difficult to change the culture of a department that was been destroyed by the wrong perspectives.
So you think General George destroyed a culture?
There are many, we've gotten rid of many general officers in this administration because we need new leadership.
Sir. You have no way of explaining why you fired one of the most decorated and remarkable men who's
we
ever
needed
served
new
the
leadership.
Nation.
That's
and
my
so
answer.
your answer is a very immature way of responding to my request.
That a now another goal of ours is to make sure that Iran never blockades the Strait of Hormuz, never has control of the Strait of Hormuz. Would that be an objective of ours?
What they're doing right now is effectively piracy. It's terrorism. It's threatening international shipping. And our blockade is signaling to the world that we actually control that strait. And I would ask this committee, what would this effort look like if Iran had nuclear weapons?
And so, again, for a couple of final questions. Do you know how much money we spent on Ukraine? Helping Ukraine?
Under the previous administration?
No, right now, up to now.
Upwards of $300 billion, $350 billion?
You're probably right, about $300 billion. And yet I don't hear anything about, you know, gee, how much money have we spent on Ukraine from the other side? The difference between them and me is this. I support the United States and their efforts to help Ukraine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Head wounds, heavy bleeding, and then just shrapnel all over. So folks are bleeding from their abdomen, bleeding from arms, bleeding from legs. Secretary Hegseth, do you know who said that?
I'm not sure I do.
It was one of our soldiers describing the devastating Iranian drone strike at Port Shuaibah, March 1st in Kuwait. As you know, 6 of our soldiers killed, over 30 wounded. Secretary, do you know the range of the Shahed 136 one-way attack drone, approximately?
It depends on the variant, but it's got serious distance.
Several hundred miles. Do you know how far Port Shuaibah is from Iran?
There's a reason why we took extreme measures of force protection, because we understood the proximity challenges.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to reclaim my time. It's well under 100 miles. Before the war started, there was clear intelligence that Shuaibah was high on Iran's target list. Internal analysis had said the site was indefensible from aerial attack and should not be used. Yet you sent our soldiers from the 103rd Sustainment Command there anyway. Is that true or false? True or false? Straightforward question.
Are you going to give me a chance to answer or just play gotcha?
Did you send them there or not?
We took proactive measures from the beginning to ensure force protection and defensive posture were maximized across the theater.
Let's talk about what defenses they had. Prior to the attack, officers on the ground knew our troops were vulnerable. In fact, they requested additional force protection. Did they receive it?
Wherever humanly possible, force protection and counter-UAS was always made available.
They did not. In fact, when asked to describe the base's defense, one survivor who's come forward from the unit said, quote, I would put it in the none category. From a drone defense capability, none. So let's be clear, no counter-drone capabilities, no counter-rocket systems, no counter-mortar or counter-artillery, not even the basic overhead protection that you and I had 20 years ago in Iraq, and now 6 of our soldiers are dead. The next day, you downplayed the attack. You said it was a squirter that squeaked through fortified defenses. But since then, thankfully, brave survivors have come forward to set the record straight. One of our surviving soldiers told CBS, quote, painting a picture that one squeaked through is a falsehood. Another said the unit was, quote, unprepared to provide any defense for itself. It was not a fortified position. Another survivor said the building's protection was about as weak as one gets. Secretary Hegseth, that is obviously in direct contradiction to what you said from the Pentagon podium the next day. So are you saying that these soldiers, our soldiers, who survived this horrific attack are lying?
What I'm saying is before the commencement of the conflict, we put in maximum defensive posture we could.
That's a direct contradiction
we moved
to what they said.
In this directing, can I speak, or are you just going to monologue falsehoods all over the place?
It's not a falsehood.
We moved 7,500 troops off of the X based on the intel.
Stop.
Based on the intel.
Stop. Reclaiming my time.
Because you yell doesn't make you right. Just because you yell doesn't make you right.
I'm reclaiming my time on behalf of these survivors. You just said what they said is a falsehood.
There's a much larger
that
picture.
true?
There's a much larger picture at play here that included integrated air defenses, bunkers, moving people off
Then
the
why,
X
Mr.
to
Secretary,
ensure
are
that they were
dead?
not part of the target. We moved those troops and all across the theater, thousands of troops off the X, off of their bases, because we knew what Iran was going to try to strike, and we knew there could be a tragic moment.
No
there could be a
answer, Mr.
tragic moment where
Secretary.
something
Again,
could get through. Of
again,
course, that's the
I'm
consequence of
reclaiming my
conflict,
time.
and we
Again.
remember those 6 every single day.
I want to finish.
But don't play games with.
I'm not playing games.
raising
I
your
want to
voice and
finish with
pointing
one more
fingers.
quote from a survivor of the attack, and I put this on the record. Telling the truth is important, and we're not going to learn from these mistakes if we pretend these mistakes didn't happen. Secretary Hegseth, those soldiers told the truth. Those soldiers are braver than you are.
I commend
They
them.
are asking for accountability. They deserve accountability, and I'm asking for the same, starting with you. And as I said a year ago, you need to resign immediately.
I commend those
And I
soldiers.
yield back.
Gentleman yields back.
Took every absolute effort to make sure that innocent civilians did not die in this attack.
I know that there is no country on planet Earth that takes more measures to ensure that civilian harm or civilian casualties are minimized than the United States of America and this War Department, and that is a fact.